What's going on, guys, and welcome back. So it's just about June. The new ban list is going to go in effect in like a week from now, so we do have one more final pointless weekend of events under the old ban list. What can we expect moving forward to be the best decks, short term and long term? We're here to talk about that. If you want, check out to the side of me either direction a couple of the playmats we have available. If interested, let me know via Twitter, Facebook, or Discord. Links all down below. Come play at Dragon Rider Games for the best online testing with our new Rogue tier list about to be dropped. So without further ado, guys, Code Talker. This is kind of like, sometimes they play a small Mathmech engine, but it's definitely focused more on the Code Talker package and the link plays. I think it's a rogue option. I've seen it pop up a little bit more. I actually played against it at locals for the first time, but I've seen it top a few regionals. And if you want to know what tops regionals, well, look no further, guys. Come follow me on Twitter. I post regular updates, and I'll have the link for the new spreadsheet for the new format on Twitter. Despia, where do we want to put it? They lost Expulsion, but I don't think that did a whole lot. I'm going to leave Despia up as a tier 1 strategy for now. They had the third most tops and third most wins of the format that we're currently in, and I don't think anything is going to change moving forward. So Dinosaurs getting new support, right? They also got Danglong back. What is Dinos going to do? Well, come follow the spreadsheet, guys. They've actually been making noise before all this happened. I think Dino's going to be a sneaky tier 2 pick. Dynamorphia, on the other hand, I'm going to put him ahead of Code Talker, but still in the rogue category. It's kind of neat what the deck does, and I think that it can definitely win because, like, just the Tower's boss monster. It's got some interesting things going for it. I just personally don't like the play style or the strategy of it. Like, I was trying to play relatively quickly, and admittedly I could have slowed down a little bit. I just felt bad because I knew I was going to win in time because I essentially was just building a big wall and he couldn't get through it, and he halved his life points way too many times, and I was going to end up winning that way. I couldn't attack through his board, and like I said, I mean, I was taking like 30 seconds for my whole turn. Like, I knew I couldn't do a whole lot. Realistically, I could have spent more time, but I just don't like winning that way. I just didn't have any other options, and it's weird for a deck of the pace that it plays to really not want to go into time. Dragon Link, where are we going to put them? I could see them getting a little bit better, especially because I think Bystials are going to be a little bit better this format. Maybe not main deck worthy unless your engine like Dragon Link calls for it, but I think Bystials might end up being a side deck staple of the format. So I think Dragon Link, however, Bystial control, Dragons, because I mean they don't really necessarily link a ton anymore, but Dragon deck as a tier 1.5 strategy. Draco Slayer, another deck that has been getting hyped up post Banlist. Where do I think they'll fall? I'm going to put them as a tier 2 deck, actually. I was debating on high Rogue or tier 2. I'm going to let them go into Rogue early, or tier 2 early, and see if they don't fall down or if they hold their own. Drytron got another orange light back. Yeah, there's not a whole lot else to say. Drytron's already a decent deck. The only thing that could really end up hurting them is the Bystials coming back into the format. Sorry about that. Bystials coming back into the format, which just really hard knock them down. But I think Drytron's got potential to be a very good tier 2 deck moving into this next format. Eldlich, where do we want to put them? I'm going to go high Rogue. Kind of like Drytron, they get hit hard by Bystials. Actually harder, I would argue. But they can play things like Skill Drain and all these other floodgates. I just think once people kind of figure out and, you know, prepare for it, because, hey, there's a lot of back row in this format. Let's actually prepare for it. Crazy idea there. And it seems like back row decks then start to fall off or are forced to evolve, like Labrynth, which we will get to in a little bit. Floowandereeze. This deck was picking up steam towards, well, right now, the end of this format. I think they're going to keep going strong. Obviously, they didn't take any hits. The only thing that probably would have been realistic was Shifter getting some sort of hit. That did not happen. Shifter will always be a very good hand trap. If Kashtira's popularity goes down, Shifter becomes even better. and I think that Floowandereeze is going to be a good tier 1.5 deck because of that. Gold Pride Punk. Where do I want to put this deck? I've played against it a few times now, and it's actually really neat the way the decks work with each other, like the punks being able to pay life points to activate their effects, and then because your life points are lower than your opponents, you get your Gold Pride engine to just start rolling. I think they're going to be one of the better tier 2 decks of the format. I can't put them any higher yet until they prove it, but I think Gold Pride Punk is going to be a deck that you're going to want to know what they do, because if you don't, you're going to get caught sleeping and probably lose the match. However, you might not run into it, so I can't put it up higher yet. Kashtira. Oh man. This is the deck I play, and I don't think much changed personally. It was clear-cut the best deck of the format, and until another deck proves it, I think Kashtira is still the deck to beat. I've seen a lot of people talk about how it's going to be way worse. It's not going to be as good. It was already inconsistent, which I disagree with, and now it's even more inconsistent. Its turn 1 potential is limited. I disagree with that as well. It's too linear. It's not, like, I don't know. I disagree with a lot of the things that are being said by people out there. And I guess one thing I want to point out is a lot of those same people said those same things back before, and they were very, very wrong, and the deck was really, really good. I don't think Kashtira is going to fall off or go anywhere. Maybe it ends up not being the best deck of the format, but it's going to stay a tier 1 strategy for the foreseeable future. Labrynth is the trap deck that has adapted. When we talked about Eldlich, we did mention it. I think this deck, the furniture variant, is interesting because now you have to prepare for a back row deck that is also combo related, which Eldlich knows all about that. Synchro Eldlich is one of the most insane decks ever. If you ask me, like full power Synchro Eldlich and Adamantipator, thank goodness that was during COVID, because that format would have been horrible in real life. Where do I want to put Labrynth? They gained a lot of popularity. They were like the anti-meta pick, and I don't think the meta shifts too much, so I'm actually going to put Labrynth up as tier 1 for now. Once people realize that it's still there and it's still that good, and they prepare for it a little bit more, I could see it coming down to tier 1.5, but especially early on in the format, I think Labrynth is going to actually be a tier 1 deck, because it's kind of figured out at this point, like whether the trap build or the furniture build, and people are starting to just optimize it now, whereas like Kashtira, people are scrambling to find the go-to play, the go-to builds. Do you play preparation now? I've seen that it's mandatory. You could also prosperity for Omega. You can banish it with like Scareclaw and banish like Theosis, things like that to put it back. So you have different ways to recycle it and recur it anyway. It's going to be interesting to see what that deck does moving forward. Moving on into another new strategy that came out in Cyberstorm Access, Mana Dome. Where do I think they go? I was really high on this deck before release, and I think it kind of fell by the wayside. I said being a hand trap format and coming out when it did, I think hurt it. However, I'm going to put it as a tier 2 strategy. I think that the deck has potential to move up to tier 1.5, but unlike last time where I kind of put it high and said, you know, maybe I'm wrong, I'm going to say this time, you need to prove me right. And for now, it's going to be tier 2. Maybe it moves on up to 1.5. Marincess. This deck really confuses me, because is it actually that good that it's getting like these regional tops and national tops? Or is it the fact that it's like the same 2 or 3 players who keep doing it? I'm going to go with the fact that it's the same couple players doing it and less about the deck itself. But being said, I think Marincess is a strong rogue option for anyone who knows what they're doing and wants to learn the deck. Mathmech lost a couple circular, and a bunch of people are saying, oh, that's no big deal at all. I think it is. I think that's going to be a big deal, and once again, Bystials are going to knock this deck down to tier 2, and maybe people just like quit playing it altogether, because it's not really that super easy to pilot free option in the meta anymore. I mean, it kind of is, but there's just other options that do the same at this point, and I think that Mathmech is going to see a drop off this format. decks that got hit harder than they should have. Naturia, Runick. Where do I want to put them? I'm actually going to drop them all the way down to Rogue. And the phone hit is like nothing. Like 2 phones fine. But the trap hit to 1. I find that interesting because I think they can chain it in a quick play in the draw phase, summon like the Hugin, discard the trap, and then search a spell and search out and get the Naturia engine rolling and chain block and do it all like to avoid droll. But the trap going to 1 I think is actually a really big deal, and the deck was already seeing a big decline in play, and I think that that hit is going to make it even bigger at this point. Purrely. The deck that probably got hit hard that didn't deserve it the most. I'm going to leave them at 1.5 though. I know Delicious, like, they can't guarantee it now off my friend, but they still have a 1 in 3 shot at it. They can still summon Purrely multiple times. There's things like Prosperity out there that, I mean, I don't know if they necessarily want to play the card, but maybe they have to now. I think the deck's going to be fine. I think it's just not going to be, I don't know. It's weird because the deck really never took over. It was borderline top 5 maybe, and I don't think it was warranted to hit. Like, we could have had a Purrely format where it's the best deck for 3 months, and I would have been okay with that. But yeah, I guess Konami said no, we're not going to do that, and they decided to hit it already. So that's, I guess, where we're at with it. It's still going to be a good deck, but that is a pretty significant hit. Rika, Sunavalon, a deck that seems like everybody forgets about all the time. I'm going to put them right at the top of tier 2. I think this deck has sneaky, scary, crazy potential. You see it topping a lot of nationals, the YCS, and lots of regionals. It's in the top 10 for most, or right around there. I don't remember exactly, but it's a deck that uses your own cards against you, and anything like that, the advantage they generate is just really, really nice. Speaking of Purrely, Superheavy Samurai. I think this deck is going to be perfectly fine. I think the deck's going to continue to be played at a very high level. Will it be quite up here as the tier 1? The only reason I don't want to put it at tier 1 is because I don't like having 5 decks at tier 1. Like, ideally 3 is probably the most I would put, but we're going to do 4 actually, which might hint as to what it is. But Superheavy I could absolutely see coming right back up here as one of the best decks of the format, because the new combo's already getting posted all over YouTube. Like, I think it's just a little more susceptible or vulnerable and not quite as advantageous anymore. You still generate a lot of advantage. You still put up crazy boards. It's just finding your way to get there is a little bit different now, because you can't abuse the same cards quite to the same degree. But yeah, I think that Superheavy is going to be very good still. I'm going to put them at the top of 1.5, but again, I would not be surprised at all in like 2 weeks to see Superheavy being like top 2 or 3 once again. This first weekend, maybe we see them like top 5, but like I said, they're going to come back up. But for now, we're going to leave them at 1.5. The other tier 1 deck for now, Spright. I think Spright Variants have the best chance to unseat Kashtira as we stand now. Sorry, as I monkey around, my computer is unplugged and I don't want to die. But anyway, Spright I think has the best chance to unseat Kashtira as the best deck of the format. Starter to 2 is that's nothing. Like, Kashtira Unicorn to 2 is barely a hit. Starter to hit, starter to 2, even less of a hit. Like, I don't know. They have so many different variants and engines that they can play with it, whether it be Runick, Twin, for hire, you know, Tri-Brigade, Kashtira, Superheavy. I've seen Purrely Spright. Almost done calling it Purrely. I've been working pretty hard at that. But yeah, Spright I think has the best chance to upset Kashtira as the best deck early on in the format. As we go, I don't know. I could see Labrynth, like I said, falling off for sure. Superheavy I could see popping up in here right into that top 3, but we'll see as the format continues. Quick fix to 3. I don't think it means much. Spiral's still going to be a rogue deck. We had already kind of mentioned it. Danglong coming out. We got Dinos, and Sword Soul I think is the deck that's going to benefit the most from that. And I think they're going to benefit a lot from it. And not only do I think that, everybody thinks that. It's a deck I am very, very curious to see how good. Will it be tier 1? Maybe. It's just hard. Like, when you look at like Kashtira, Spright, Despia, Labrynth, Superheavy, Sword Soul, like, I don't think you can have 6 tier 1 decks. But I don't know, maybe it makes a push at tier 1. Otherwise, really good tier 1.5 for Sword Soul, and I'm really curious to see how it goes. Speaking of Danglong, how do Yang Zings rank? I think kind of like Spiral, they're still going to be a rogue strategy. Not a whole lot's going to change. Sure, they got better. Sure, maybe some people play it a little more, but for the most part, it is going to hang out in rogue. Tearlaments, where do we want to put them? A deck that so many people wrote off and said was dead, kind of proved it wasn't. It continued to top events all last format, pretty much every week had more. But Bestial's coming back is going to hurt the rogue deck, and the rogue deck is going to become a worse rogue deck. I think Tier is just not in a good position at all right now, and if you're going to play it, you need to accept that you're in the rogue category. Traptrix, I was back and forth. Do I put them up here in tier 2? And when I'm looking at the tier 2 decks, it's like, I don't think Traptrix really matches any of them. I kind of have them closer to like Marincess as far as how good the deck is, and Naturia Runick. So that's why I was like, okay, top of rogue is where we're going to put our Traptrix. Tri-Brigade, I almost didn't even put on here actually, and I was like, that's actually a deck I feel like should get mentioned. The deck can play a lot of flex spots, and it can play different engines, and plus Bird Up. Recital Starlink's back to 3, so maybe we see Bird Up come back. I'm going to put them as another rogue deck for now. Engage to 2, we didn't forget about it. Multi-roll to 3. They have 2 Hornet Drones and 1 Engage, otherwise this deck is at full power once again. Is it going to be Pure Striker? Is it going to be a variant of Striker? Is it going to be Draco Striker? I don't know, but Sky Striker is back, and I think it's going to be tier 2 though. I don't want to put them up too high. I really don't. I think the fact that it's Sky Striker, it might see a ton of play, and there's those few dedicated players who are just amazing with the deck, who could do obviously top events. Would I be surprised if Sky Striker wins a regional this format? I don't think I would be surprised. Like, more than one, absolutely. I'd be shocked. Like, anything in tier 1 and 1.5, I could see winning multiple regionals. Tier 2, maybe taking down a regional, but otherwise just a decent amount of tops. Sky Striker is probably the one tier 2 deck that I could see top or winning the easiest. And that's solely because so many great players just love the deck and want to play it. But I'm really curious to see how it does. I got this feeling that it's going to fall flat and not be as good, but maybe I'll have to eat those words, and maybe Sky Striker comes back and wins another YCS. Oh, I hope not, but maybe it does. But there we go, guys. That is the tier list for this upcoming format. Let me know down below what you think I missed. Again, playmats, links down below. Check it out. If your deck is not on here, I apologize. I'm not going to put everything on here, but I would say it's probably in the rogue deck unless I completely whiffed on it, and maybe it's higher. But if I didn't list it, I would say it's in our rogue category. Thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.